Hey, welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about compensation plans. No, we're actually going to be talking about piecework and pay for performance plans. If you've ever wondered about how to have a different way to pay your people so that their motivations are lined up with the way your motivations are lined up, if you know what I mean, I think we've got an expert for you on this. So we're going to be talking about compensation. We're going to be talking about paying people. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that have to do with keeping your company efficient and keeping your people working on the same kind of priorities that you've got. So let's get into the episode, and we're going to hear from Michael Fortinberry from ProTiff. Let's get to it. Mr. Michael Fortinberry, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How's your day?
The day's been fantastic. High
I'm glad to
energy,
hear that.
changing the world.
I expect nothing less.
Well, that's why you're here. You're here to help us change the world.
Maybe one construction project at a time.
One construction project at a time, which really is true if you think about it.
Yeah. We've got I think an experience here we'll talk about today about also investing in our teams. Because as much as we may work to build our companies and all that, we really want to build our teams up. And, I think that's a lot of what we'll probably get into today in our conversation.
Yeah. I had a guest on just a couple of weeks ago, and he viewed it as a privilege to be able to hire people and be responsible for making sure they go home with enough pay to take care of their
Love
families. And what a beautiful way to look at it. Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, there's a question I ask at the beginning of all these podcasts. You've
Sure.
probably heard it. Michael Fortinberry, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these contractors all over the world?
I'm a contractor. So among other things, between being grandfather and, some other roles I play in life,
That's a big
we
deal.
build things. And I think I'm a little blessed. I've been able to work within the construction space for quite a while, as well as real estate and technology. So I kind of speak all three languages. But my dad was a general contractor and an electrician. And so I kind of learned some of this space by pulling Romex through attics in, South Florida in the summer. Those are always fun days.
Wow.
But it really, you can imagine.
Today we call that Bikram hot yoga. People pay for that.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I built railroad tie walls in the summer up in Atlanta one year. That was fun. Nothing like creosote railroad ties in the Georgia clay. But a few years back here in New York City, we started a construction company, the one I have now, Perennial Construction. We do large-scale multifamily renovation work, about 100 employees, self-perform almost all of our work. And it's been very successful. And we had a chance to build, I think, a great culture within this company. We got some great partners, and we've been able to hire some amazing people. So this experience of building now a couple of construction companies, a couple of technology companies, has given me a chance to put my feet into a lot of pieces of operations and success around what does it take to deliver on a great value for our customers, experience for our employees, and hopefully some profit at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love your background for this conversation. Today we're going to be talking about piecework and pay for performance, which I think is why a ton of people are tuning in, because it's like fixing your own transmission. I could take it apart and look inside, but I'm probably not going to be able to put it back together. So if you don't do it right, if you don't understand how it works, we tend to stay away from it, right? And so, but you're an expert on pay I can't even say it. Pay for performance and piecework. Do you use it at your company now?
So we use a version of it. And I think it all harkens back to the root problem, I think, and I would argue almost every contractor faces, which is trying to align the team's productivity and quality to what we're spending for them to do that, what we compensate them. And we have thrown, like many of the listeners, probably a lot of things against the wall to try and figure out that thing.
Yeah.
Interesting, when you start to unravel the root cause of the problem, the center of it is the model of compensation that we have been using now for decades and decades in the United States, is hourly pay.
Yeah.
Hourly pay structurally compensates you to work more hours. That's the equation. Quality is not in that equation.
All right.
It just doesn't exist.
That's
You
true.
might fire them, but that doesn't adjust what they get paid per hour. Their quality is a function of something else. Productivity becomes a function of something else. There's no linkage between those two elements. So we have a root cause problem. I think once we understood that, it allowed us to look at some different approaches to that quality productivity compensation model in our own company.
It's super interesting, and I wonder how many people have tried doing piecework and then realized they've done it wrong. I know there's some industries that do it a lot. Cabinetry install. Automotive all day long because they've got that. I don't know if it's the blue book, but they say it's this long to do
the
this
big
job.
Book. Yep, that's right. So it's interesting that when I talk to other contractors, I routinely hear that, oh yeah, we've tried this so many times, always wanted to do this. I always thought about doing that. I would love to do it that way.
Yeah.
The challenge is, in reality, the way you have to implement something like this takes some processes and structures that have to be followed very specifically, or you get unintended consequences. And I think it kind of goes back to this concept of piecework, because piecework, which is what people think they want to rotate to, isn't the solution either.
Oh, okay.
You end up with piecework getting quality problems. There are some legal issues with straight piecework as well, but quality issues and safety issues can pop up because straight piecework, you can make less money if you take too long, and that fear of loss changes human behavior. They can't go home to mama and say, baby, I know I make $20 an hour, I just made 18 because I'm slow.
Yeah.
That conversation doesn't go well, so they rush and they hurry, and then that's when there's some unintended consequences to that. And again, it's legally problematic to pay hourly workers on piecework. So it's just some things you have to navigate. So what we kind of rolled in our own company was a hybrid of the two. But I think it's interesting. Where this started was a conversation around cabinets. You brought that up.
Really?
It was it was actually a couple of our guys that were doing cabinet installs in these renovation programs, kind of the whole kitchen, putting the kitchen on the wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we had about 10 hours in labor in these things. It's kind of what it was taking us to get them out the door. There's apartment, installations. They're pretty simple.
Okay.
One small apartment kitchen.
You saw my face when you said 10 hour installs.
These are not. This is not. Mrs. Smith Park Avenue.
Okay.
These are common multifamily kitchen renovations, but about 10 hours, get the cabinets up, countertops on, that kind of thing. Reality for our schedule adherence in our space critical, because people are about to move into this apartment, have to be done on time.
Yeah.
I needed it done in 8 hours. I just did. If you guys need to do this in one day, everything's there, ready to go, get this up, get it done. And I have about $40 an hour in labor, 10 hours, $400. I'm like, Bob, actually, I think it was a guy named Frank, but Bob, I'm going to give you the $400, but you need to be done in 8 hours. I need you done today.
Oh yeah, you figure it out.
It has to be right, because I don't have time to go back and fix it, because somebody's been living there. It costs me a ton if I have to go back. So it turned out that Bob can actually do this in about 6.5 hours for $400.
With the right inspiration. I'm going to call it inspiration.
All of a sudden, Bob's like, you know what? I'll knock it out. And he's home early. And I'm like, what? I feel like a bad manager. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here, right? Because they're a lot more productive than I thought they were.
And this guy, Frank or Bob, he was open to it.
Yep. Oh, not only open to it, but the next phone call is, hey, can I get another one of those? Sucker. Because they're almost like I'll take more of that. Give me more of this opportunity to control a little bit of my own income. Now, doing that one time off, fine. Okay, you can kind of manage that on an Excel spreadsheet and get them paid. As we had 20 employees, 40 employees, 60, 80. We have a lot of employees, bigger jobs, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different trades. This got more and more complicated. And we needed to also be legally compliant with OT and minimum wage and all kinds of other moving pieces. So we became kind of more structured around the tool set we use to manage that process. and really applying I think some sophistication, I'll call it, to the way we oversaw each job, the way we track time against each job. For example, we had to know how much time exactly did each worker spend on each part of that job. So
Right.
we put in more sophisticated time tracking tools, for example.
So I'm stuck on a question. I'm sure you've got this before, so
Sure.
it's not going to stump you. But how do you define performance? With putting cabinets on the wall and countertops, I can define what it looks like when it's not done and when it's done. But there's some other
Sure.
jobs that aren't as easy to define done versus not done. I mean, I guess all of them have some definition, and I'm sure you've got a way to do that. But how did you come to defining what done for quality means?
Well, in its practical sense, when our supervisors have their walkthrough with the client and that project is signed off, it's done. And so we look at it as a construct of the application of the approval of the job before any additional money is released to the employee. So in practical sense, what happens is the worker finishes the job ahead of schedule. In our world, they maintain a base hourly pay. So if Frank's making $40 an hour, he still makes $40 an hour. So he finishes this job in 8 hours. He's paid his $320. If it's a $400 project, that $80 is not paid, that difference, until the job is approved for quality. So if Frank has to go back and fix it, he's eating into his $80. And what happens is Frank will come in, actually have Frank on video saying, my whole approach to quality changed when I started getting paid on the project because it cost me too much money to go back.
To come back. Yeah.
Now, if you think about it, that's how we feel as the owners. That's how many of the listeners probably feel. I can't afford to send you back. It costs me so much money to do rework. Rework is the bane of our space. So by incentivizing the team, the workers and the teams to care about doing it right the first time so they don't have to go back, we change their behavior.
Did you get any kickback from people initially? Like, did anybody come to you and go, this sounds like, I'm going to take it to the authorities?
Not that, simply because we don't alter their base rate. So this is a bonus. So,
right.
That's one of the things that we had to understand is that to do this legally, they maintain their base hourly rate. We are not impacting that. Their recurring bonus on this structure, if they're earning a bonus each week, is counted towards OT rates, for example. So you have to maintain that math correctly. It's not complicated math, but you do have to do it in a legally compliant way. But there isn't anything at all illegal or structural. You can even do this in California. It is completely compliant because you
either the high water mark or the low water mark for these kind of things. Yeah.
Yep. Well, New York is the same. New York's the same way. And you have to maintain the legal structures around their hour compensation. You have to account for their OT correctly. There are rules around that. Not complicated, but just ones you have to follow.
Two things, people and profitability, which I'm sure you're not surprised. Business coach asks about people and profitability. But how hard is it to recruit people when they hear about this model during the interview process? Or are they just like talking to their buddies and they're jumping over the fence to come and meet you? And, how is that helping recruiting or hurting?
I think we lead with it. In our interviewing processes, we want candidates to understand that our compensation model leans into their ability to be great at what they do. Bob comes in your office and says, I'm the greatest painter in history, and you're going to pay me X because I'm so good. All right, well, we're going to find out. And here's how we're going to do that. We're going to pay you like we pay everybody else. And if you are the greatest, you're going to make far more money because our best team, they make a lot more per hour
than their base rate.
They're just great at what they do. But for us, shifting that to the profitability, because we base that structural base payment that we're aligning for that job to what we bid the job for. So that's our labor amount that we estimated up front. Our profitability is protected. Now, sometimes jobs go over. That happens. I mean, it's construction. Sometimes we're wrong about something. And if the job goes over, they make their normal hourly rate. No harm, no foul. It's fine. But if they can bring it in early, my GP is protected, my net profit levels are protected, and I can afford to pay them more. In a great world implemented well, you can pay your team about 10% more on average than they make today,
Oh, wow.
and not increase your labor costs. Same time. We do it every day. That's an absolute, I know that this works.
Yeah. And are you reducing your production times? Like, are you taking a normal project that would have taken, 16 calendar days down to X calendar days?
It's actually a little scary to get your head around this, but our average production has dropped by 20%.
20%.
20%. And we have 12,000 jobs through the system at this point. We're not guessing anymore.
Oh.
We're 20% faster than we used to be. It is, I don't know, maybe we weren't good at it before, but we see it enough, we have enough employee turnover, enough mass now that across enough trades and enough types of business that we do, that the production level has been a remarkable improvement over where it was before. And again, we thought we were pretty good at this before. We're a decent growing company, and this just unlocked something else. The employees have to care. That they have to want to carry two 2x4s instead of one, to use the simple metaphor.
I was going to say,
they will.
You haven't been on the same job site as me, because if I got caught carrying one 2x4, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I know.
So the minute, but you're not always there, you're not always caught.
That's
right?
true.
And so it's this concept of make them want to do it the right way on their own. Help them, I should say, help them to want to do it the right way on their own. Incentivize them to do it the right way by aligning their comp to what you need.
Yeah, we need to be motivated by the same thing.
It's interesting that I would prefer that everybody was intrinsically motivated and they just personally just wanted to be amazing all the time. But extrinsic motivations like money are still, frankly, for the 63% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, pretty darn high on the list. So I need to solve the extrinsic motivation elements before I start to lean too heavy into, culture and caring and, your personal commitment to quality. I love those things. I want to train to those things. I want to cultivate those things. But if I don't pay you right in the front, it's hard to get you to care about the other.
My mind is firing in so many directions, Michael. Is this a thing that works best with subs, or really only works with employees?
It's employees.
It's an employee
thing. In
thing,
theory,
right?
it's an employee thing. In theory, your subcontractor is motivated on productivity because their cost is controlled, right? It's flat. The sub, actually, one of the biggest flaws in the sub model, look, a lot of people do it very successfully, I don't want to beat up on it, is that if the sub underpriced, they cut corners. They have quality and safety and other challenges, just like employees do. If they're afraid to lose money, the sub, they've got to find a way to make it up. And they're really good at making sure you don't see that, maybe till it's later. So subcontractors are a risk because of quality, safety, and other issues, not to mention insurance problems and all that. Not that W-2 employees are just nothing but joy and cupcakes, but there is a downside to the sub model that is costing us money. It's also just a lower margin business at the end of the day because they have to make a profit on their side.
Yeah, but the subs have employees as well. Like the subs could be using this kind of. So that takes me to
my
the
favorite
question.
Customers.
I was going to say, because you're a construction and tech guy. So I understand your construction background, as you said, railroad ties in the sweet smelling Georgia mud. But what's your tech background?
So I was fortunate to work on a couple of technology companies, mostly on the real estate side of this whole thing. But we have built out some very large technology platforms. One of them we took public called RealPage. It was largest software operating system for multifamily real estate. So when we built our construction company up, we leaned straight into multifamily. It was a space that I knew really well in building technology and construction tools specifically to build out multifamily turnover and renovation work more efficiently.
And now
no,
go ahead.
Go ahead. At Perennial, we built out really a full platform for operating our company. Because we start so many small jobs every week, they're bigger than work orders, but they're smaller than the Procores of the world. So our software effectively that we built for ourselves was an operating system for a company that starts 50 projects a week. And all of those projects will be completed by the end of the following week. So
right.
this speed at which I need, but I still needed more than a work order and more detail to the construction, to the schedule, etc. So we needed everything from rapid HR tools. We hire people very, very quickly, especially in the spring when
Mm.
we're ramping up for summer move-ins, move-outs. And we needed to be able to get those people to the right jobs. Construction in New York City is a logistical challenge as much as a construction one. I need the right material, the right people at the right time, at the right job site.
Yeah.
Getting those pieces to come together at the right moment when you've got a
Secured.
3-day window to do the whole job.
Yeah.
You can't be wrong by 24 hours. I can't have my materials 12 hours late. I do
Or
them
early.
before
Yeah. 12 hours
order.
early and you've got no
Or early.
materials. They're
That's right.
just gone. Yeah.
So I really, we had to build out a lot of technology just to facilitate the way we grew. And if you're going to be a bigger company competing with small companies, you better have your labor costs under control. You better have your operations under control. You need to bring other things to the table because they can beat you on price just because they're small. And
Mm.
Chuck and a truck can do things financially sometimes a bigger company can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you now run ProTiv and
So
tell
we
us about
spun some
that.
of it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the software itself that we use to manage our productivity-based compensation was successful for us. And so we had some friends who were also contractors who said, "Hey, I see what you guys are doing. I'd like to try that. I would, tell me about that. How does that work?"
Okay. That's how
We
you guys got
so we
started.
gave it to some other people, kind of like, sure, you can try it out. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah.
Turns out it worked really well for them. And so actually in August of this year, we actually started selling the system as a standalone product to other contractors. And we're actually up for startup product of the year with the National Home Builders
No
Association.
way.
So
Good for you.
yeah, we're final 12. We're be presenting at the International Builders Show in a few weeks. And I don't know, who knows? Maybe we'll be product of the year. So
I'm amazed at how
cool.
much technology has become a driving factor in construction, which has been, for the large part, it hasn't needed, the hammer's still a hammer, 2x4 is still a 2x4, but it's all of that other stuff to get that hammer and that 2x4 to meet at the right time in the right place, like you said. That's where the
I think
efficiencies
it's
are coming.
fascinating.
Yeah.
When you look at what's been invested in the construction technology, frankly, a lot of it is great for Skanska and Turner. You're building a stadium, you can do that thing and you can build a digital version of it first, and you can have a robot walk your job site every day to tell you exactly how many feet of conduit were put in that day. This stuff is amazing what they can do. They do virtual reality safety training. I mean, it's crazy cool stuff out there. I'm not sure how Bob's plumbing with 3 guys and trucks, 3 trucks running out there. I'm not sure how that helps them yet. I think that Bob just wants his workers to be productive, to do the right thing, try and finish that job right the first time. And I think that there's probably been a shortage of tools for the 1.5 million subcontractors out there for
Yeah.
smaller companies.
This is where you start hearing me on my soapbox. So the creaking of wood is because we don't teach the right things at school, and we don't make it interesting to people that want to start trades business, so they understand how it works when they actually get out there and run their own company. That's missing. We teach people how to be great
Yes, it is.
employees, how to follow, but we don't
Sure.
teach people how to lead.
There is a shortage of that. It's interesting if you sit down and do the math on I'm graduating high school and I want to retire at 40. The path to that is probably being, I don't know, replace hot water heaters in New Jersey, and that's all you do out of your truck, and that's it. You will probably be retired at 40 if you manage your money right, charge right. You have no cost. Your operating very low. It's easy, simple. You're going to make money from day one out of high school. There is this feeling like it's this. I'm also a function of this, go in the military, go into college, whatever, and eventually get a career and you work for 35 years. Now retire at 40, go be a contractor. if you manage your money right, save
Yeah.
your money up front early, right? Don't invest smart. There's no reason you're still working at 65.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say if you want to retire at 40, a kid in high school today is going to say, I need to go become an Instagram star.
You can probably do that too, but
Yeah.
I don't have Instagram, so I don't know. Actually, I think I
Instagram,
might have
YouTube.
one. I'm not sure. I don't have
Okay.
InstaTalk. I don't have Tipgram. I don't have any of those.
The way that you just described it means you don't have it.
Yeah, it's not really my thing, but
Yeah.
that's okay. It's a new world, and I
Hey,
know
it's
that
somebody
my
else's thing.
granddaughter will probably have one. I'm sure. So,
Well, but again, this sounds like a pretty interesting technology because this pay for performance helping you drop your production time by 20%. I think Bob's Plumbing would be interested if Bob was open to it.
yeah, and I feel like there's first of all, it goes back to the beginning. Hourly pay. Let's just accept that that's not the best way to pay people. Because if you start with that thesis, then it's okay, then what? And so if you're a contractor or business owner, you say, all right, what do I replace it with? Because the truth is you still have to have an hourly rate on their paycheck. Still got to pay them every week. There's still some rules, but what do I do? And so first, I would encourage people to start thinking about the KPIs that are critical to you. What metrics matter in your particular business? Take those metrics and find a way to measure them at your job site, whether that's how much do they get done in a day or customer service scores. I don't know everybody's business, but in our world, a lot of it was productivity and quality.
Yeah.
Do it quickly, do it right the first time. We started measuring that and we found a way to reward them for doing that. And by linking those together, I got what I wanted as a owner.
Yeah.
Bob's Plumbing can get what they want. Jim's home building get what he wants. He can get his team to hit his target KPIs because they personally care about doing so. Not because he yells at them, not because he's got a supervisor standing over him, not for any other reason than they want to.
Because we have the same motivation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You see guys apply the wrong tools to solving this too, because they recognize the root problem is manifesting into their business. They know they're behind a little bit on labor costs. They know jobs aren't completing on time. They know there's a bit of apathy or laziness at the job site when they're not watching them. We all see these things, but the tool we use to fix that is often the wrong one. Hey guys, we're gonna have a quarterly bonus based on gross profit. And then they get crickets back because the team doesn't know what they mean by gross profit, nor how what they're doing changes that gross profit at the end of the quarter, which feels like a million miles away, a million years away.
Yeah,
when mama
it's too
needs
far. The
shoes.
cycle's too long.
It's
I don't know what I
too
did
much,
to give me
right?
the result. Yeah.
So we encourage rewards need to be very chronologically proximate to the behavior.
Woo.
So you're going to do something different on Tuesday, you're paying you different on Friday. Like bang, bang, like you know it. You can, in fact, we show it to them. They get it on their phone. They know what their goal is and they know what.
Oh, no way. So this shows up and
early.
says, hey, Bob or Frank, I think your guy. You just did this job and you're ahead by X dollars.
Yeah. Oh, we tell them in advance. Like we allow them to project when they think they can get done and how much they'll make. So the intelligence behind it this is actually really simple to do if you think about it. I know I've got 100 hours in this project, got a couple of guys working. They can calculate what does 80 hours mean. If I finish in 80, that 20 hours is $20 an hour. That's $400 I've got to distribute to that team as a bonus. Jim worked twice as many hours as Mark, so Jim makes more of it. That goes on their paycheck.
Right. This is more a curiosity, but because I can think of different phases in my life where, especially when I was a lot younger, I would have been like, let me finish the job as fast as I can. And how fast can you give me the next job? Because I don't want to just win on one job. I want to be finished a month and be ahead by a week in pay. That's how my head works.
This works best when you have backlog. If you don't have anywhere else to put people, there may still be some advantages. You may be able to do it with a smaller team. Most of our what we see out there is mostly team pay, where we have this both individual project-based pay as well as team-based project. If you don't have somewhere to send that team the next day, you might want to have a smaller team and make sure that they're aligned to being highly productive and moving quickly to the next job. Most contractors that I talk to have some type of backlog. They would like to be able to get to the next project So let's get this one done
Let's
and
get
move
this one
on.
done and move on.
Or
Yeah.
they're, or they know that, you know what, Jim is really slow and I'm glad I can finally get rid of Jim because my other team is now better.
The reality.
Contractors, it's interesting. The guys in the field also will communicate differently when they care more about your KPIs and your metrics. They will share with you that they'll call and say, "Hey, Mike, you know, the shingles are not here, man. You're holding this up. You're costing us money." You know, they're like, "Hey, this paint sprayer is terrible. Can you please get the Graco guy out here and get this thing working right? Because, you know, it's costing me money."
It's funny
Come
you
on,
bring that
these
up.
are things that they begin to care.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I hear quite often from people the question, the chicken and the egg. What do I go? Do I go fix the systems in the company first, or do I go increase sales? You know, and they're and then they also come back and say, my guys are resistant to change. Like they don't want to change. I try to put systems in place and they don't want to do it. And I quite often come back and say, well, let's increase sales. Let's put more work through the door. And your guys will look at you and go, dude, we got to do something different here. We're so busy. And then you can come back and say, well, that's a great point. What if
I've seen that in real life. Yes.
Yeah. You know, because the motivation again is now they want to work smarter, not harder. And you're trying to fix a system that actually needs fixing.
In our space, we would have our summer world can get chaotic because there's so much move in, move out in the apartment industry. And it is amazing how unbelievably productive everybody is in the summer.
Yeah.
Sure enough, come October, maybe they're just tired or whatever, but everything just goes, you know, it's slowing down because it's like, what in the world? You guys were knocking out 2 of these a day, you know, 2 months ago, and now you're getting 1 a day. Like, what gives? And so there is something to be said for if there's a lot in front of you to do, you just do it faster.
Yeah.
But I can't emphasize enough how important the quality control side. It's not, we actually don't coach people up to go faster. We coach people up on 3 things. Number 1, do it right the first time because the rework kills us. Number 2, don't waste time. Just, it's not a function of rushing. It's a function of don't waste your time at the job.
Right.
After lunch, when you get to the job, you know, you're unloading the truck, whatever that thing is, don't waste it. And 3, this is a personal thing with me. People do this differently. I'm a clean, organized job site guy. I do not like messy job sites. They are safety problems. They are unproductive. People don't know where things are. I can't find the stupid extension cord, whatever. It's 100 reasons why messy job sites are a problem.
Yeah.
And so keep your job site organized from minute 1 to close out. Don't waste time. Do it right the first time. You will earn, on average, about 10% more money than you were before just by doing the same job you're doing. Like same kind of work. They'll care more about it. You'll deliver higher quality, and it's a better experience for everybody.
Yeah. I like how you said that. Just you have a handful of simple rules and then you stick to them. We don't have to have a complicated set of rules. So do the job right the first time because we don't like rework. Don't waste time because don't waste time. And number 3, clean and organized job site. And there's people listening to the show that are laughing right now because they know I've got a thing. I need to go see a guy about this thing is, I hate it when cords and cables and hoses are coiled up incorrectly. I lose it. I don't even know why. I just it drives me nuts. And
worse, you can't find it because it's underneath a job box that somebody stuck over in the corner with a bunch of crap on it. You're just
killing me.
Stuff's everywhere, and just like, who is in here?
How can we get anything done? Yeah.
How can you do anything done? And you know, your tile guy can't find, you know, the grout, and the painter can't find the spackle. The million, it all just like, because stuff is everywhere and it's messy and tripping, and not to mention the safety side of it is extreme. And interesting, you ever go to a big construction site, you know, you'll see keeping things organized is almost like straight up front and center on safety. You just can't be tripping over things when you're 27 stories up. So, you know, this is a real thing that I think small contractors could lean into, which is clean, organized, well thought out job sites, even on small projects.
Yeah. So cool. So Michael, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, if somebody else wants to try this software, how do we find you in this big wide world?
Yeah, you can take a look at protiv.com, protiv.com is great. We're happy to demo it for folks. We're contractors too. We get it. our approach to this is pretty straightforward. Frankly, we actually give it to folks with a guarantee. If it doesn't work, give your money back. And
That's nice.
it's a pretty this is a pretty simple system to implement.
Right.
We'll figure out what time and attendance system someone's using, and we'll take a look at what type of work they've got, help them build out their first project. So usually off and running in a day. It usually impacts the first job. But protiv.com is a great place. Some little videos there. Check it out. And give us a call. Phone numbers on there, emails on there, contact forms on there, I think.
So, and you're saying guys can make 10% more, but the owners can complete jobs in about 20% less.
You're going to finish, the jobs will finish faster. Your team is going to make a little bit more money, and your job labor costs will be flat to down. So, which is hard to get your head around, but your labor guys are going to make more money and you're going to spend less on labor. Okay. I promise you it works. It works pretty much every time. So it's almost like a kind of thing you got to take on faith. And if you're wondering where it comes from their productivity. They're the ones who pay themselves the raise. And if you're ever wondering what time is worth, 10 minutes a day of wasted time is a week of paid vacation every year. I don't know. How many minutes are your team wasting?
Oh, I see. When you add, I've done this math before. Yeah. It's 10 minutes a day times 5 days a week, that's almost an hour right there of waste.
Yeah. It's a week of paid vacation every year. And you can get your team to care to not do that on their own. But they don't want to do that. They want to be productive because it's in their interest. And I really think that is the right way to invest in our teams. It's just a respect thing for the quality of what they do. We want to reward them for helping us be successful, for helping us deliver great products for our customers. And we found this is a great way to align those pieces.
Love it. Well, Michael, thank you very much. And by the way, if somebody wants to find you on LinkedIn, you have a name very similar to Eric Fortinberry from JobTread.
Yeah, I'm not Eric. Cool company, JobTread, absolutely.
Yeah, but you're Michael Fortinberry, INB
with an I-N. You got it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, if
check
you want to
on
look
LinkedIn,
him up,
reach me out there as well.
Yeah. Well, and we'll have links in the show notes of the podcast. Cool. I'm sorry. So it'll be easy to track you down. And then you're at say it again, the company name?
Protiv, Protiv, Protiv.
Protiv.com, correct?
You got it. Yeah. Protiv.com. And I'll tell you, from my perspective, I've talked to a lot of different, folks on podcasts and whatnot. If you are looking for some advisory help, I will suggest that would be a great place to start and help you take your company to the next level. I
appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, just for that, we're going to have you back in the future. You see how easy that is?
Look forward to it. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Michael.
We had some scale. All right. Take care, Don.
Have a good day. Well, Michael, thank you. Thank you very much for that. That was a great interview. I love the fact that you're a contractor. You talked about your 100-person contracting business on the side as if it was nothing. And then you've also spun off this really neat application for helping people get paid for performance with the same motivation, the same reason to do a good job as we have. I also liked your 3 rules, and you heard me repeat these back during the episode. I'm going to do it again. Number 1, do it right the first time, because we don't like rework. Number 2, don't waste time on the job site, because don't waste time on the job site. And number 3, keep a clean and organized job site. Isn't it interesting? And those of you who've read my book before, which is Construction Millionaire Secrets, will recognize that these are the same kind of rules that we've got in there. Specifically, the one that I'm thinking about is Construction Millionaires train everybody the same. Michael's got a handful of simple rules. He's got a construction business that's running. He's got what sounds like this great software application that's running. He's got it all under control, but he's got a handful of simple rules. And I hope that's why you listen to the show, because you know that this show is about the simple systems for running this business like a business person that happens to be a contractor, not just a contractor with a crew tripping from job to job to job. Michael, thanks very much for being on the show.